5 things that you want to make sure you do before you sign your name on the dotted line, before you present that check to buying some land in Florida. Florida's a beautiful place to live, I ain't gonna lie to you. But before you jump in, make sure you do at least these 5 things before you buy that land. Number 1, avoid buying land without knowing the zoning. Zoning laws create what you can and what you can't do on your property. Yeah, I know you bought it, I know you paid cash for it, I know you paying on it, or whatever it is. If it's not in writing, it does not exist. Make sure before you buy that land that you look at the land use. Even though it may be wooded, even though it may be pasture land, even though there may be something existing on there, check your zoning laws, because you may have a vision or idea and you may purchase that land, then you find out you can't do it, then you got to go through rezoning. And it's not always promised that you can get it rezoned. So do your research before you buy that land. And in Florida, be prepared to walk that land. If you can't walk that land, you need to have somebody to know what they're looking for, know what they're doing to walk that land. The reason why this is important, Florida got a lot of wetlands, a lot of them. Then you also have flood zones. Do your research, check with your county, check with the mapping systems. Look and do research, making sure that you're not buying flood zone property. You may walk out there today and it may be dry, but then after the rain comes, water just standing there for weeks. I remember we had an offer on a piece of land and we were almost getting ready to close on the land, and we decided to go and roll out there after a large amount of rain came down. Guess what? Our cars had water all the way up to the wheels, the top of the wheels of our vehicle, just to get access to that land. So just think about this, fam. You need to do your research, take your time. When buying land, do not be in a rush. Take your time, survey that land. If you can, I always recommend take 6 months up to a year to see the seasonal change, to watch that land. If you don't have time, I get that. But you want to do your research. Do your research, do your research, do your research, because you do not want to try to buy flood zone in a flood zone, and then you don't want to buy marsh or wetland, because a lot of the wetlands are protected. You got restrictions. You can't do certain bills on there. You're going to have to get a soil perc test for your septic tank. Some of it won't perc. Then you got these big old mounds in your yard, and now your septic tank is above the ground. You got to calculate for all of that. So keep that in mind. Just because you are buying rural land, what you feel like is in the middle of nowhere, does not mean that you can install a septic tank, does not mean you can install a well. Let me give you real life scenarios. There's some rural land that already have the infrastructure there. They already have the water main line there. Some of them even have sewage. So don't assume that just because you're out here in the country that you can install a septic tank. Find out from your zoning, that county, not where you live at, but that actual county. Pull up that plat map. All property has a partial ID. Make sure you have the correct partial ID. Make sure it matches the location. Do your research before you buy that land, because a lot of people, they like homestead and they watch this channel and they want to create their own self-sufficiency, their own independence. And they may buy land thinking they're going to do a septic tank, a well, like what we did, and now no longer are you having to pay water bills, no longer are you having to pay sewage bills. You have your own self-sufficient establishment. Don't assume that you can do that just because you're somewhere out in the country. Do your research, fam. Please do your research. Trust no one. Don't buy no land sight unseen. Make sure you can see that land. I'm not talking about virtual world. I'm not talking about this or that. But a lot of times when a deal seems too good to be true, it's more than likely too good to be true. You want to get out and physically see that land. If you're going to live there, you're going to invest your hard-earned money into that land. Get out there and see that land to make sure that's where you want to be at. If you don't want to get out there now, what makes you think you're going to want to get out there later? Buying land sight unseen can be one of the worst mistakes that you can make. Or it doesn't mean that it always has to go bad. Nothing is 100, I get that. But the likelihood of something going awry is high. Why gamble with such a large investment? Take your time, take the time off, plan a trip, and go see that land. And don't just ride by the land, don't just ride around the land, but go into the land, especially if it's raw land, if it's wooded land. Take your crew, walk through the land, see the land, because you don't want to go and then all of a sudden they start clearing and you haven't walked the land and you be like, I didn't know this was here, I didn't know this debris was here, I didn't know this structure was here, I didn't know there was a hole in the ground, looks like a sinkhole, I didn't know this moisture was here, I didn't know this ground was... Take your time and look at the land. Also look at the soil and look at the plants that's growing. Check out the plants. There's some very invasive plants down here in Florida that you can clear it and all you're doing is open it up for Pandora's box, for everything to just pop up and come alive, because it may not, under dense growth, it may not grow as abundant, but make sure you do your research to make sure that some of these plants, as you clear the land, will not take over your land at the same time. All right, you made it number 5. This is one of the biggest one that's closest and dearest to my heart, because we got saved by doing this one thing. Make sure that you do not avoid getting a title search. Do not avoid getting a title search. We sold our home to move out in the country. We sold everything we had in the city. And we had dual closings. That means we had our home selling on the same day, and then we went to another closing to buy land. They went through probate and everything. But guess what happened? The title search company found out that there was a man that owned the land, then he passed, then it went to his wife, and he had 3 kids, but his wife had 3 other kids. And when she died, his kids, which he initially bought the land, they thought it went to just them, but her kids had rights to it, even though it wasn't by him, if that makes sense. Yeah, it can get very, very, I don't know, intertwined, where you gotta make sure that you pay that extra money to do that title search, because they're gonna ensure that either you get your money back or you actually have a clear title, a clear deed, and it's transferable to you. So make sure that you pay that extra money and wait that period of time to get a clear title that allows you to secure that land and have that land free and clear with no worries. Trust me, it's worth that investment. Do not shortcut that. Get you a title search, fam. All right, there you have it. 5 things to avoid before buying land in Florida. Whatever reason you want to buy that land, whether it's a homestead, whether you just want to build a home, or whether you just want to have a place or a community that you build on a large parcel of land, or maybe you want to start a farm, make sure that you do your research before you buy land in Florida, or matter of fact, anywhere. Not just Florida, but anywhere. Make sure that you do your research and know what you're getting into, especially if you're buying from out of state. You're not familiar with the area, you're not familiar with the topography, you're not familiar with a lot of different things, but you're getting ready to move or you're getting ready to acquire land. Get familiar with what you're doing, what you're getting ready to get involved with, okay?